Alrighty, well, I hope everyone can see that. So first, I want to say thank you guys for all coming out tonight. We really appreciate you all being here, and we're looking forward to your questions in the QA section. And let's get started. So first up, I'm sure you all have heard from many people that content is queen. Well, you should know that people are wrong. Content isn't king. Oh no, I messed it up. Content isn't king. Content is queen. And we're here today to tell you why you need content on your site. So first, just some brief introductions in case you haven't gotten the chance to speak to us yet. My name is Kat Edwards, and I'm a senior SEO at an agency called Go Fish Digital.
And I'm Cecily Sonner, and I am an SEO Manager also at Go Fish Digital. And we're very excited to be presenting to you all today. All right. So today we will be talking about what content is, why content is queen, what type of content is best for SEO, and then we'll also be going to how to build an outline that ranks and how to optimize existing content on your site. And then we'll be saving all questions and answers at the end. So of course, just feel free to leave them in that chat and vote up your favorite questions. All right. So we'll begin with Content is Queen, a guide to ranking with content. Let's get into it.
So first up, let's define some terms. What exactly does SEO content mean? So SEO content is content that's designed to rank. You can see an example of what that might look like here. So if you were to search the term, what are the smartest dogs? You can see here the page that is ranking #1 for this content-oriented question. You can also see here, if you were to search something similar, what is the best pet? Again, you can see, well, first, dogs are listed as #1, which is correct. But you can also see that this is yet another content optimized result. If you're looking for a more SEO relevant example, you can see here, if you were to search JavaScript SEO, it returns this blog, which has been fully optimized for SEO. In case you have any questions about JavaScript SEO, I highly recommend checking this out. It was written by one of our colleagues, and it's very comprehensive and has been really well optimized from an SEO content perspective. So now that we've defined our terms, let's get into why exactly is content queen. So content rules above all else because #1, it allows for you to include additional organic instances of your target keyword on the page, which can improve chances of ranking. It also enables you to add more internal links and anchor text, which can improve link equity flow. It also can provide an easily adjustable way for you to return to the page and update accordingly based on any changes in the algorithm, perhaps in your competition. And it also improves user experience by answering questions, providing useful information. Obviously, there's other benefits that content can provide as well, but we'll discuss a few here and how you can create content for your site.
So you may be wondering what type of content is best for SEO. And of course, it all depends. So it depends mainly on intent of the keywords you're trying to target. So different keywords that people might be searching show different search results and different types of pages. So here are the main 4 types of keyword and search intent. We have informational, transactional, commercial research, and navigational. And I'll be going through each of these in the following slides. All right. The first one we have here is an informational keyword and search intent. So some examples of an informational query that people might be searching would be how to cook, maybe Queen Latifah, another queen. What is an NFT? So here we can see screenshots of the search results for the query how to cook. And you can see here we've got a video that's informational that's showing, the 5 basic cooking skills. There's also people also ask section ranking really high with questions that people might want information to. There's also learn how to cook delicious recipes. So you can tell it's all very informational based. So you wouldn't want to, try to target maybe a product page for this query. The second type of search intent here is transactional. So this is mainly products and product category pages. So some examples of keywords that people might be searching that would show transactional intent pages would be used iPhone 10, pink sunglasses, Louis Vuitton deals. So here is another screenshot, and you can see there's used iPhone 10 product page from Walmart. There's a few informational. People also ask questions, but it's mainly these transactional pages. And then what's interesting here, especially if we're talking local SEO, is that when you type in used iPhone 10, you also get a map pack showing where people can buy a used iPhone 10. All right, and then the third search intent here is commercial research. This is similar to transactional, but it's really for users who are wanting to get more informational about products or services. Maybe they're in the funnel stage where they're just wanting to do some research here and figure out the best product. So some example queries here would be best air fryer, Black Friday TV deals, lawyers near me. And for this SERP, you can see here the #1 result is 9 best air fryers. Again, we also have this people also ask questions, but then Google itself even pulled the top 24 air fryers. So you can see this is a little bit different than the transactional. And then there are some videos here that would go over, features of air fryers and things like that. All right, and the fourth search intent is navigational. We don't see this that much when we're, working with SEO because these are really branded queries. So some examples here would be like a HelloFresh login. If someone searched that, they want to land directly on the HelloFresh login page. So there's not really that much of a point of trying to optimize that page because, of course, the HelloFresh is always going to probably be ranking #1 there. Same thing with Spotify and Gmail. So here we've got 2 examples. On the left, it's HelloFresh, and on the right, we've got Spotify. And you can see it's got the main homepage and then some site links underneath. And then just to mix it up a little bit, we have this bonus search intent here. This is when there is a mix of search intent pages on Google. A lot of times this happens if the queries may be a little bit more broad and Google doesn't really understand what exactly you're looking for, or maybe people type the search query in a lot. And one person might be looking for a transactional page and one person might be looking for an informational page. So Google sort of shows it all to you on the search results. So here we've got an example for SEO marketing. And if we search this locally in Raleigh, and you can see the first thing that popped up would be this SEO marketing map that's showing where local agencies are. So this would be, a commercial research intent because it's showing you different types of agencies in the area. And on the right side of that screenshot are SEO books, which would cater more towards the informational intent. And then on the other screenshot, those are more informational as well. But you can see the mix there. All right, so now we'll be talking about, once you understand the intent of the keywords, how can you optimize pages? So first we'll look at an example of an e-commerce product category page that we optimized for one of our clients. So we have Staples as one of our clients, and they wanted to rank for the keyword invoice paper, and they have a product category page that shows a lot of different products of invoice paper, and we wanted to optimize that a little bit more. We noticed that in the search results page, there was a lot of informational content as well as this product content. So to optimize this page further, since they already have all the products listed and there wasn't much we could do there, what we wanted to do is add bottom of page content. This bottom of page content has a lot of rich keywords in it, and it also answers really common questions that people might be searching who are interested in buying invoice paper. So we added that there, and we took this approach and we followed it across multiple product category pages. And here you can see some results. So here we are looking at the average ranking position for these types of pages that we did these optimizations for. And you can see 7 days before implementation versus 120 days after we added this bottom of page content. Updated the existing content that they had there. There was a 58.2% increase in keywords ranking in positions 1 to 3. So that was across a large number of pages we did for them. But then we also have here the specific invoice paper keyword that we were trying to optimize. So you can see that arrow is when we did the implementations. And before then, we were steadily ranking around position 3 for that keyword. And now it's very steady in position 1 with very little fluctuation there. So we were glad to see those results, and it sort of shows that adding, keyword rich and informational rich bottom of page content can be beneficial.
So that was an example for a larger business like Staples. I'm sure many of you, if you work at an agency, you're probably dealing with a lot more smaller e-commerce clients, or perhaps you have a small e-commerce business yourself. This is an example. It's for how optimized content can really help bulk up a small business. So in this case, our business, the primary editors for the products they're selling is often Amazon, and Amazon, as we all know, is an e-commerce giant, and can seem near impossible to compete with for certain terms. So in this case, we optimized this collections page for a client for the term manga art kit. And you can see here we're competing with Amazon, ranking number 3, while Amazon is taking up the top 2 spots in the SERP. And in this example, we actually ended up surpassing Amazon for the term anime art kits. In this case, we optimized the page for both of these keywords. A little bit more data here. You can see we implemented these changes for the client September 11th, which is when we started ranking for this term. And after we implemented those changes, you can see there was a bit of a zigzag approach. And then we started steadily ranking on page 1 for the term manga drawing kits. And once again, for this term anime art kits, the client was already ranking for this term, usually around the 2nd or 3rd page or even higher. And once again, after we implemented these changes, we saw very consistent rankings, in this case, usually for the number 1 or number 2 spots on the SERP. So what exactly did we do here? Overall, the main changes that we made is we just added content. We went through and identified any people also ask questions or just additional questions that we could add here. So we could add in organic instances of the target keywords and headers that would pose questions. And then we would add the keywords in the copy where we would provide an answer. So these were the main changes we made to this. And after that, we saw a significant change in ranking for this page.
All right. So if you are an e-commerce client, or you're selling services, a lot of times we also see blogs and informational content help out a lot of our clients. This is an air purifier client, so the main goal of this client is to sell air purifiers, and the keyword air purifier is a little bit tough to rank for, especially if this client isn't as big. Maybe they don't have as much authority as some of the bigger air purifier giants. So what they do here is they write a lot of informational content that is related to air purifiers. And a lot of times this can get in traffic that is, more top of funnel. These people might eventually want to buy an air purifier. So maybe this content would be about what air purifiers are best in basements, or here's one that says, my home stinks, is my air purifier broken? So, just getting in a lot of more traffic that way. And this could also widen your audience and, capture that bottom or that top and middle funnel traffic, and then strengthen your client's position as an authoritative source. All right. So how can you make content that ranks? So here we'll be getting into the specific sort of methodology for this. So there are typically 2 options for making content that will rank. The first one is to create new content with an outline. And this is what we'll be mainly talking about in the upcoming slides. And the second option is optimizing existing content. And the way to figure out if you either need to create new content or optimize existing content would really be, again, to think about the search intent of the keywords you want to target. Do you already have a page that caters to that search intent of the keyword you want to target? Or do you need to create a new page, to target it? Another thing you could do is look at, is the keyword you want to target already ranking on page 1 or 2, maybe even page 3 of the search results? If so, maybe you just need to make a few tweaks to your existing content to strengthen those rankings even more. But if the keyword you want to rank, maybe you have a page that's ranking in position 50, in that case, you might want to consider creating new content, or even doing what we did for staples there and adding a bigger content outline at the bottom of an existing page.
So the first thing we'll address here is how to build an outline that ranks. And I'll just go ahead and walk you through the overview of our steps now, and then we'll go more in depth for each of these for the upcoming slides. So the first thing you'll want to do is locate your top 3 to 5 competitors, and then you want to find your target primary and secondary terms. You'll want to then average your word count based on those competitors that you've already located and find semantic terms. Semantic terms, in case you aren't aware, are terms that can be used in association with the target keyword, but they aren't necessarily terms that you would want to rank for. So after you've located all of this information, it's finally time for you to make that content outline. After you've generated that outline, you can start thinking about various internal links that you can add to relevant products or other blog pages within your own site. And then you can check everything off the list. You're good to go. It's time to complete that outline and let that content go live. So now let's do a more in-depth look at each of these steps. So number 1, if you aren't aware of your topic, it can be really helpful to locate your top 3 to 5 competitors. In this case, we're going to be giving these recommendations for if you already have a subscription tool like Ahrefs. So in this case, we're going to be using the competing domains tool that's on this subscription. So you can see here, we're going to navigate down there. In this case, we're looking at perhaps competitors. If you have a divorce, dad, lawyer, client, then these might be what your competitors look like. The way that Ahrefs determines these is based off of keyword overlap. So you can see some competitors have more keywords that are unique to their site, which can be helpful or not helpful. Like most things in SEO, it depends. If you're looking at, for example, a lawyer client that does divorce for dads and also other kinds of law, then obviously that's not applicable to your client. But if that other competitor has a bunch of really good resources that you aren't ranking for that's still relevant to your divorce dad content, then obviously that would be a really great competitor to take note of and to mine in the future. So here's another example in this case, and this will be the example we'll be using for the outline. This is for a client that sells kids' art boxes. You can see here, it's pretty obvious these look like decent competitors. You would want to go through and take a look, but Sketchbox.com and Kids Art Box probably are selling kids' art boxes. So you'll want to locate those top 3 to 5 competitors, take note of them, and use them for the steps going forward. Another thing you can do if you don't have Ahrefs and you're trying to figure out who your competitors might be is to think of a top page for your site. So for example, if you have an e-commerce site and if you're selling art boxes, then you might look at that page and say, okay, this is the page that's selling the most products. I'm going to look at the top competitors that are ranking for this term. Those competitors are ranking number 1 through 3 or 1 through 5. Those are the people you have to surpass in order to improve the ranking for your site and traffic and conversions. So your next step, find your target keywords via content gap analysis. Once again, we're going to be going into how to do this on Ahrefs and then how to venture into this using Google. So first up, let's discuss how you can do this on Ahrefs. It's made very easy because there's a content gap analysis tool that you can just input your newly found competitors into. You do need to modify this a little bit once you get this raw data. As you can see here, if you're working for a client or if you are the client that's selling kids' art boxes, the term Banksy is probably not going to be super relevant to you. And it's also probably not the best term to rank for, even though it has a monthly search volume of almost 200,000 because it has a keyword difficulty of almost 76. So it will likely not only be very difficult for you to rank for, the SERP is also probably not the best for people looking to buy kids' art boxes. So instead, I went in here and I made this a more friendly SERP. In this case, since we're looking for keywords that have informational intent, because we're looking to build an informational outline, I added the term how to, because I knew that would return mostly informational-based keywords. And you can see here, this is a lot more relevant to my client who's selling art boxes and probably has people who are looking up how to draw a skull. Or in this case, the keyword that looks like it might be a really good fit is how to clean acrylic paint brushes. Because you can see here, not only does this still have a respectable monthly search volume, and also has a really low keyword difficulty. So that's how you can locate a primary keyword using Ahrefs. So now let's take a look at how you can do this with Google. It is a little bit more difficult. Obviously, you can't get the same monthly search volume, keyword difficulty metrics, but you can still go in and take a look at things. So say, once again, you're looking at selling art boxes, and you know that it would probably be good for you to write informational content like how to paint. So the way you would test to see, like, is this a good idea for me to write about, is just simply look it up. And you can see here that Amazon says, no, this is probably not the best idea for you to write about if you're looking to sell art boxes, because you can see the #1 search result you get when you look up how to paint is how to paint a room, which people looking for this probably not looking to buy an art box. On the other hand, if you make this a more specific search, like how to paint with acrylic, you can see here that, yes, this looks like it'll probably be a lot more useful, because ranking #3 is artsupplies.co.uk, which are selling art supplies just like your client is. So in this case, I navigated to this page, and I found that they had written a whole host of different articles on various different topics. This looks like a goldmine, honestly, for using this client for reference going forward, to look back on, okay, what's another good idea for me to write about that I'll probably be able to rank well for. Another thing to keep in mind, if you don't have a tool like Ahrefs and you're looking for target keywords, is to look at the title tag or headers. If a site is well optimized, then they should be using them here. So you can see, for example, at the bottom, how to clean acrylic paint brushes. The target keywords have been used there, so you'll be able to locate them. So your next step will be to find secondary terms and confirm they're the best fit. So in this case, using Ahrefs, I took the art supplies page and I plugged that in, and I took a look at what other terms this page is ranking for. So you can see here it's ranking for a couple other things like acrylic paint that probably won't be the best for my client because they have a higher keyword difficulty. Even if it's really got a good MSV, probably not the best thing for my client to go for. But on the other hand, they have terms like how to use acrylic paint, how to paint with acrylics, that look like they'd be really good supporting terms for my client. Another thing to keep in mind when you're picking out these secondary terms is you'll want to make sure that the SERPs align for each of these secondary keywords. So the way you'll do that is you'll select each one and you'll plug that into Google and go in and look at the search results. And if you're finding that overall, yeah, the same pages are showing up 1 through 5 or 1 through 10, that would be great. Then yeah, this probably is a good term for me to try to rank for. However, if you look up, for example, types of acrylic paint versus how to use acrylic paint, and you're finding that it's returning different search results for each one, that probably means that Google has identified that one page won't rank well for both, in which case your client is likely to not rank well for both either. So you can see here, I went ahead and looked up these terms on Google, and I found that the client was in fact ranking well for #4 for several of these terms, in which case this does look like it would be a good fit for our client. So I would go ahead and give the green light for using this term. So our next step would be finding semantic terms and the average word count.
Sorry, the lights went off there. All right. So for finding semantic terms and the average word count, we wanted to show you this tool we use. So this is an internal natural language processing tool that we have at GoFish. And before I get into this, I want to say if anyone is interested in using this tool, feel free to reach out to Kat and I on LinkedIn. And we could, run a few keywords or maybe a page for you within this tool, and I'll just sort of show you how this works here. All right, so to recap, a semantic term is a conceptually related term to the keyword. So for acrylic paint, a semantic term might be, it says here like work surface, or wood might be semantic. And this tool and finding semantic terms is really important because Google might be looking at the top 10 pages and seeing, maybe work surface is on, 8 out of 10 of the top ranking pages. So if Google sees work surface on your page, maybe it'll associate it with being, a better fit for the keyword that you're trying to identify, which in this case would be acrylic paint. So this tool here, you put in the keyword that you're interested in ranking for, and it will tell you all of these semantic terms and give you a count of how often they appear in the top 10 pages of the search results, and then also give you a score that shows the importance of, including the semantic term. And this tool also provides you with the average word count of the top 10 pages. So here, if you have a page to compare against the other pages, it would show a blue chart at the beginning, but here we just see that yellow bar, and it says that the average word count is around 1,200 words. So if we were suggesting to a client or for our own site, that we wanted to create new content and we wanted it to rank well, maybe we would give a range of maybe like 1,000 to 1,400 words, just so it sort of fits in with these top ranking pages.
So now that you've gathered I'm sorry.
You're good. All right. So now that you have all the keywords and the semantic terms and all of that good stuff, the next step here would be to generate a content outline. And content outline there is underlined in blue because that actually links out to a templated content outline that we wanted to provide you all with. So if you can see here, are sort of some screenshots from what this outline would look like once filled out using that acrylic paint example. So you can see here we've filled out like our title tag, our meta description, our URL slug, H1s, primary keywords, secondary keywords. So this is good if you're optimizing and creating an outline for your own site, or if you wanted to share this with the copywriters, this makes it really easy for them. You can just fill out all of this information of what you want those headers to be, what you want the H2 to be, what you want all this metadata to be.
So now that you've gathered all this information and you've prepared your outline, it's time to add some internal links to relevant product and/or blog pages. So something to keep in mind while you're coming up with this internal linking strategy is that internal linking is vital for link equity flow. And that link equity flow is especially powerful if you're linking from one of the most internal pages on your site to pages that are located more on the fringes. And that's because more internal pages, which are usually pages like your home page or a product page that brings in a lot of traffic, they usually have a lot of backlinks, which really helps transition that link equity to pages that are more on the fringes that usually don't have as many backlinks. So when you're creating this new content outline, which is fresh, new to the world, and doesn't have any backlinks yet, it can be especially useful to link to stronger, more internally sourced pages to help that page grow faster, as opposed to if you were just to link that page to another page that's located more on the fringes, then it's less likely that both those pages are going to be able to help each other. Another thing to keep in mind when you're doing this internal linking is to use keywords as your anchor text. Anchor text is really important for crawlers because it indicates to both the user and the crawler what that content of the page is about, and it can really be useful as a ranking factor. You can see an example of this here, and this section is included in our content outline of how if we were to create anchor text for the Art Box for Kids homeschool page, that we would use a keyword like homeschool art kits, because not only is this a keyword that brings in monthly search volume, it would also help that homeschool art kits box rank better for this term. So the next step that you would want to do is add relevant schema markup. Schema is a form of microdata that indicates to a crawler that you have a certain kind of content. I know that's a little bit vague, but for more specific example, schema markup could be used if you have a recipe page. This is a good way of signaling to Google that you have a recipe, and it means when that page shows up in the SERP, that users can see like, oh, this recipe lasts for 30 minutes, because that's specific information you can tell Google about that page that you've made. And schema can also help ranking for different kinds of featured snippets. An example of a featured snippet, once again, being this JavaScript SEO blog that my coworker did. You can see here how this is ranking for the JavaScript SEO featured snippet. You can see another example of how Schema can help with a page here for another one of our clients, Geico, where they're ranking for #1 for renters insurance. And you can see these questions down here. These are made possible and clickable because we've indicated to Google that these are FAQ questions and that they've been highlighted by FAQ Schema. So if you're interested in doing anything in regards to Schema, here are some tools that we highly recommend. The first is a Schema generator on a site called Merkle, which is super cool. They do more than just Schema generation. I would just recommend poking around their site if you haven't taken a look at them before. But they generate most of the common kinds of schema like FAQ, how-to, recipe, even local SEO schema. And the last two are some schema testing tools so that you can make sure that once you've made that schema, that it will work correctly and Google will be able to read it. So now that we've covered how to create a content outline, let's talk a little bit about how to optimize already existing content. So the first of these steps will look a little bit similar to building an outline, because first we're going to once again locate our top 3 to 5 competitors and also locate our primary and secondary keywords. Now, just to deviate a little bit from that content outline, we're also going to want to integrate our keywords now into already existing metadata and content. And metadata is, as Cecily has discussed before, the title tag, which is the text you click on when you see the page in the search results, and your meta description, which is the text beneath the link that describes the page itself. And then we'll want to apply any relevant schema. And then finally, after we've come up with all of our ideas, we're going to let that recommendation go live and check back in on that page after it's incubated for about 2 to 3 months, just to give it enough time to let it grow. If the changes are positive, leave it alone, let it continue to grow. And if not, it's time to circle back around and see what kind of readjustments are necessary. So now just to give an example of what this might look like, you can see here this client came to us in about October and said that they wanted to rank #1 for art supply advent calendar keywords. So we did a little bit of research into these terms, and we found that the good news is that the keyword difficulty is relatively low. So if we come up with good content, we're likely able to push this page onto the first page of the SERP. And we did research these terms. These ended up being the keywords that we optimized this page for. And we used the strategy as we discussed, optimizing the following: title tag, meta description, H1s, and the other things listed here to make sure that this page has the best opportunity to rank. And you can see here, this is the content we were working with on the page. So when you're doing these adjustments and optimizing pages, you don't have to add a lot of content to your page in order to rank well. You just have to tweak it enough so that you're best signaling to Google that you should be ranking for specific kinds of terms. And so we added these changes, you can see here, around mid to late October. And that's when we started ranking for the art supply advent calendar keyword. And we got our client dropped down to below the top 5 in the SERP. Above the top 5 in the SERP, just in time for Christmas. And you can see here for advent calendar art supplies as well, that our client was ranking close to number 30. And then after we added these recommendations, we dropped them down to the first page and then continued to hold the first page until around Christmas time, just in time for the holiday season for this product page.
All right. So another way people might want to, optimize existing content is for featured snippets. So this is especially useful if you are ranking maybe positions 2 to 3, maybe 2 to 5 for a good keyword. Here we saw, this is an example of what used to be ranking for spousal maintenance. You can see here they're really quickly defining spousal maintenance. We identified this as a potential opportunity to outrank them because they are a PDF page, and we thought our content would be a good fit here as well, and we were in position 2 or 3. So what we did here is we just rearranged, 1 or 2 sentences so that we could also very quickly and easily, define what spousal maintenance and alimony is. And again, this is sort of an easier way that you can optimize your existing content. And again, this matches the search intent of this being informational and just providing the user a really quick and easy answer to the question or to the topic that they're looking for. All right, so now we want to show a little bit what you can do when you're looking at a local business and you want to optimize your existing content. Here we had a local video agency wanting to optimize for rent video gear. And here's a screenshot of the search results page here. And you can see the very top thing is this map pack showing very local agencies that sell video equipment. And then there's also rent video equipment in Raleigh down below that. So what we wanted to do is just make sure we have this keyword and rent video gear on the page. So here are just some screenshots from their page that you can see here. We've got rent video equipment. That screenshot at the top is the H1, the primary heading. And then we also wanted to just add Raleigh and Raleigh, North Carolina, and similar indicators of where you could rent this video equipment, since it is like very local intent search. And before, they didn't have really many instances of Raleigh, North Carolina on the page. So we also added like their address. So even Google, their crawlers could read that, understand like, yes, this page and this business is selling video gear in Raleigh. Let's rank them for this. So here's some changes we made there. And then here are the results we saw after adding those keywords and just those local Raleigh indicators. So here, the red arrow shows when we implemented this change. And you can see this would be site-wide, I believe, when we implemented all of, adding all those local indicators across the site and optimizing, multiple pages and title tags. So you can see a big jump there in page 1 and 2 keyword rankings. And then the bottom graph here is specifically for that rent video gear keyword. So you can see right around the same time of implementations, they were steadily ranking before around position 30, and then we got them onto page 1, and they've been holding steady there since, just for making a few minor changes. So we did want to point out, if you are a local business, it's always good to go through your pages and understand, what are people searching for, and is it showing really local results? Do you need to make sure you have more local keywords on your pages and that they are optimized for those keywords that you really want to be ranking for?
All right, so now that you have all of your updates and ideas ready to go, it's time to complete those updates and let your content go live. So number 1, after you do this, there's still a few more steps that we have for you guys, which is first to note your primary and secondary terms. These are really important for measuring your growth and progress going forward. If you have a keyword tracking tool like GetStat or Ahrefs or anything else that you're using, it would be really valuable for you to add those keywords to the tool so that you can keep an eye on this page going forward. There's not a lot of worth in adding updates to a page and then never checking in on it again to make sure that it's experiencing positive growth or neutral growth or even possibly negative growth after you've made those changes. So now that you've made those changes comes the hard part, which is to sit back and wait for the next couple of months. Google is an unruly beast and will make decisions as it will. So it's really important just to hold off and not touch anything until it's decided where the cards should lie. You should also give yourself a pat on the back. You've done some good work here and you deserve, in this case, I think this raccoon is giving a lukewarm applause, but you should probably give yourself a bit more of an excited applause when you do that. So when you're checking back for your updates, there's 2 options. Well, if you got the number 1 spot in the SERP or if you're ranking high up there, good job. If you can, give us a shout out and let us know what you did that worked, and just let us know. There's also the option of that you're still in the trenches. You can always wait another month or so to see if there's any major changes and if you can come back to that page to optimize so it can continue to improve. And this is often a circumstance you might find yourself in where you've optimized your beautiful, shiny new content and another page comes in to kick it out of the way. Really, the best way to address that is just to optimize it again, such as life in Google. And that concludes our presentation. I also wanted to say as well that these are the QR codes for our LinkedIn. So if we're not able to answer any questions that you might have, or like Cecily said, if you're interested in our NLP, feel free to reach out to us.